for 12 years, and subsequently, the Kurdish population in the north of Iraq had a much better life and a much better existence than they were having from the Assad regime. From the Ba'athist Saddam regime at that time. And so we had a Ba'athist regime which was carrying out brutality against its population, and the international community did something about it. Today, we've got intensifying sanctions, but we have gridlock in the United Nations. We have Russia, which is still arming the Assad regime. We have Russia and China blocking any Security Council resolution. And we have the Russian leadership, the Russian Prime Minister, former President Medvedev, saying that the decision by France and last week by the UK to recognise the national coalition of opposition and revolutionary forces in Syria is a breach of international law, and that the Russian government is still firmly committed to the Assad regime. There is not going to be any prospect of a resolution through the United Nations Security Council. Yet, at the same time, the conflict is intensifying, the deaths are rising, and the neighbouring countries are facing significant numbers of refugees coming across their borders. Turkey has already had military attacks on its territory emanating from Syria. And it showed, in my opinion, restraint when its aircraft was shot down. And when refugee camps on Turkish territory were shelled by the Syrian military. This week, there is a discussion going on in NATO about defensive Patriot missiles being placed in Turkey, and that will have to be a decision taken within the North Atlantic Council meeting. Whether that will be a way to prevent missiles coming in from the Syrian side. So we are moving to a very dangerous potential escalation here. A desperate regime that is prepared to use any kind of force to hold on to power, knowing that it has got powerful international backers. At the same time, an opposition which inside Syria has been divided and which has not been in any way comparable in its ability to fight compared with the forces that are in the hands of the Syrian government. And yet, despite that, large swathes of territory are now in opposition hands. Large areas of the country are subject to conflict, and the numbers of displaced people is growing almost inextricably, huge numbers every day. Now, it is very dangerous to have a political solution to anything driven by the view that something must be done. And you always have to think carefully of the consequences of what actions you take. But it is clear that in the case of Syria, we face a potential disaster which is already spilling over into neighbouring countries and has the potential to become a generalised conflict in the region, with the Shia